Hi, this is Bobby Kimbrough, and welcome to Off the Cuffs. Another day we're excited to have Mrs. Thomas from Winston-Salem State, the athletic director. I want to welcome you to Off the Cuffs. Normally what we typically do is I want you to just tell us who you are, where you came from. Tell us about who you are outside of the athletic director, and then we're going to roll.
Sounds good. Sheriff, thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Who am I outside of being the AD?
Yeah.
I was born in Waterloo, Iowa.
I never heard of Waterloo.
Yeah, people say that all the time.
Give me a city it's close to.
So Cedar Falls.
Okay, I heard of Cedar Falls.
Cedar Falls, where the University of Northern Iowa is.
I'm with you now.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
So my dad is from Iowa, so I was born in Iowa. My parents met in college at Luther College in Decorah.
Okay.
So mom is from Queens, New York.
Okay.
My grandparents sent their only daughter, oldest child, out to Lutheran school. My grandmother was a retired Lutheran pastor, and so they sent their only daughter out there. My grandfather was a New York City police officer. So that was a safe place to go.
Yeah.
And she met my father. While she was out there, she also had the opportunity to be the first black contestant in the Miss America pageant.
Really?
So, yeah. So they did a lot of fun things. And
Strong genes.
A little bit. I have none of her skill, though. She could dance. My dad can play and sing. I can do none of that. That's not where my skill set's at. But we lived there till I was 7 and loved it. Absolutely loved Iowa, but it wasn't the right time. Mm-hmm. My dad worked for the city and really had great success, and then, people get a little intimidated. So back out to New York we went, and we lived with my grandparents in West Hempstead, New York. Okay. My parents and my uncle and my grandfather and grandmother. Great opportunity. Loved growing up in West Hempstead, but we lived in their house, and so I used to fold my bed up every day and slide into the corner. My little brother slept on the pullout. So we moved into Hempstead, New York, and that's where really life started to change. My parents bought a house in New York after having owned 2 homes in Iowa, and that was where we went from public school to private school. Believe it or not, I was a bad kid for that.
I can't
probably
imagine
second
that.
to fifth
I can't
grade.
Imagine that.
Yeah, you look in the dictionary, you find some of those words in the dictionary that you're not supposed to use, but you discovered them. So my father said, okay, you either get this together or we're going to go to private school. And I didn't quite get together quick enough, so my brother and I headed off to private school. And probably the best thing that ever happened to me growing up in Hempstead, having an opportunity to attend multiple private schools. And at that time, kids really weren't making good decisions at the public schools, fighting over clothing and a lot of things in New York. And so private school was really a great opportunity for me. So I graduated from Holy Trinity High School in Hicksville, New York, after going to Lutheran High School in Brookville, and loved it. But I had a principal that said to me, you should really apply to junior college. And I said, well, both my parents went to school. I've got great support at home. I was taking college classes. Yeah. And say, yeah, we think you should apply to junior college. And also, if the Black History program doesn't go off as planned and instead is more like a step show, you won't graduate at all. And so that was really challenging. I said to my parents, that's really not what I wanted to hear, and especially not from the principal. So it was a little interesting as I finished out senior year, and the Cosby Show was on. And I heard about black colleges. I think everybody in my senior class wanted to go to Hillman. In my senior class of 365, there were 34 students of color. And so I was looking for that opportunity. I went on a college tour, and I found North Carolina Central University. Okay. So I came south. I'd always told my parents I was a Southern belle. The blue dresses with the lace. Yeah. That was going to be me. At my wedding, I had the big dress. But I was looking for that opportunity to have teachers that looked like me. And so I came to the South and found North Carolina Central University and absolutely loved it. I fell in love with the South, but I didn't expect my parents to follow me.
They came with you?
They followed. So I came in August, my dad came in September, and my mother and my brother moved in January. So we were all now down here. So I went 9 hours away to now be 2 hours away from my parents who moved to Charlotte.
There's no place like Carolina. You do know that, right?
I love it.
It's God's country. It's God's country.
It is. Yeah. But for so long, I felt like I was retiring here. So it was interesting, as opposed to it always being somewhere we would come back to and call home. So my parents came here, and they lived here until 96. Okay. And so I was right here near my family, and then they moved down to Atlanta right after the Olympics. My dad worked 96. With FedEx.
I was there.
Were you? So they live in Lithonia, and they've lived in the same house since 96.
Okay.
So that's home. Yeah. But Atlanta has slowly become New York, and when they moved down there, it was not. And so they do miss Charlotte, but they found a good church home. My mother has a good employment. My dad, after he paid for my wedding, he retired. So he's been retired. I've been married for 20 years, so he's been retired for more than 20 years. So.
What you do after leaving Central?
Went to law school at the University of Iowa.
Did you?
I did. So I had a chance to go back home. Okay. So I actually, and in between. So I finished undergrad in 3 years, not because I'm a genius, but because I took the credits they told me I could take each semester. I worked for a year for FedEx and drove a Grumman truck, which I absolutely loved. And then they found out I got into law school. So I went out to Iowa for law school, had a chance to go back, and really got burnt out. It was great 3 years. I lived in France for 8 weeks, loved it. And I decided that's not what I wanted to do. And I got into college athletics. And that was really where that transition was, having not known anything about college athletics and having not been a student athlete. But it was a great opportunity to take law into compliance, which is what that segue and bridge was.
See, that's a story within itself. Young girl graduating out of New York, was told to go to junior college. She opted on her own, comes to a four-year university, graduates in 3 years, then gets accepted into law school. That's impressive.
Thank you.
In other words, nobody can dictate your dreams but you.
That's it.
That's good stuff. So you graduate Central, go to law school, and gets into college athletics.
Correct.
What was your first stop at?
My first stop was at back at Central. So I started at Iowa, and then we got married 2 weeks after I finished my coursework at the University of Iowa, and my husband was here. And so I came back here and joined him in Durham, and I needed a job. I didn't know that you needed more experience than degrees to get jobs in college athletics most of the time, and I didn't have any. So the current AD at Central was actually in position as associate AD, and she brought me in for a partial scholarship, and I did some volunteer work, and I took out a whole bunch of student loans so that I could get through that first year, and it was great. But then after that, I went to St. Paul's in Lawrenceville, Virginia.
Wow.
And then we moved a lot early on, and then we had a gap where we stayed stationary. We went St. Paul's and then up to D.C. And when
What you at D.C.? At
Howard.
What you do at Howard? You were the assistant AD?
I was assistant director of compliance.
Okay.
For 1 year.
Okay.
So that was another one of my quick stops.
So you say compliance, you talking about the compliance that relates to the
NCAA rules.
NCAA rules.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So the bulk of my career was compliance. So working in compliance from 2000 until 2017. And then I made a transition out of it. So I was at Howard for just that year.
So where were you at before you came here to Winston-Salem State?
I was at Kentucky State University in Frankfort, Kentucky.
Okay, yeah. So were you were the AD out there?
I was.
Wow.
I was.
And then you came back to North Carolina.
I did.
So what's it like? What's it like being a woman in a predominant a field that's dominated by males? What's that like?
For me, it's second nature. I was an athletic trainer in college. Larry Little was our football coach when I was in school, and I can remember us playing A&T.
Larry Little from Winston?
Larry Little, football player.
Okay,
from
Larry
the
Little, football.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
So he was our head coach, and I can remember we were playing over at NC State, the Aggie Eagle Classic, and we were in the locker room post-game cutting off tape. And he looked up, and he said, "Man, what are we doing? We got all these women in here." Well, I hadn't looked up. I worked from the knee down post-game. I mean, I'm just cutting off tape.
Right.
Well, people were in towels, without towels, whatever they were, but I had a job to do. But that wasn't his favorite. But that was really probably that first aha moment where you realize, well, I guess, we were a female staff primarily, but it was mostly men that we dealt with. I dealt primarily with football and with basketball, but it was okay for me. So it didn't bother me any, and if it bothered them, then that was really their issue. And so you fast forward to when I went out to the University of Kansas, I had someone ask me, how will you feel walking into a room where you're the only person of color and the only female? So, well, that's not an issue for me. And if it's an issue for someone else, it'll only be an issue the first time. So you deal with it, and you either hit it head on or you don't. For me, it doesn't affect me, and I don't know where that comes from other than just you build your confidence. I appreciate it.
I like that.
Yeah.
So now you're here in Winston-Salem, athletic director.
Correct.
That's all right. So what kind of plans you got for us here? So in Winston-Salem, we got big plans for our colleges and our university, right?
Absolutely.
We expect winning teams.
That's it.
We expect winning teams. We expect winning teams.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all we know how to do. We don't know how to do it any other way. You can look at our history and our pedigree, and that's what you hear and that's what you see. And we've proven that. This year we were the CIAA 2020 men's basketball champs. And for me, as a CIAA AD, that is so powerful to be able to come in and be part of that legacy and to continue what we've built here. But then a year ago, we had the outdoor track women's championship. We also had the softball championship.
See, I didn't know that.
Absolutely.
I didn't know that.
Absolutely. So we only know how to do it one way. COVID has given us a little bit of a curveball.
So what's a day like for an athletic director? What's that like? So when I think of an athletic director, I think of, the person that makes sure you got the coach for this sport, coach for that. But then when you just add it to compliance and there's so many other things that you got to make sure, it's almost like being a manager of all the sports and everything that takes place there.
I would say it's not much unlike yours. No 2 days are the same. A lot of emergencies come up no matter how much planning you do. But I'll tell you, at Winston-Salem State, I've got some great people. I'm really fortunate with my predecessors and the foundation that they laid. Yeah. There are a lot of great coaches and administrative staff, but then a lot of great people on campus. Chancellor Robinson has built a great leadership team.
Good man, know him personally, good guy.
He is. And I've known him for a long time, and that's the only reason I'm here. When he called, I answered, and I was appreciative for the opportunity to come back and serve. But yeah, I tell you, no 2 days are the same. I call it Fridays in college athletics. I'll get a call from Chief, and now he starts saying, okay, there's nothing wrong. And I'm like, okay, because on Fridays, you never know what can happen in college athletics before a football game, a volleyball game. Yeah. You never know. But every day, we're in the people business. I don't spend a lot of time having to manage people from a day-to-day basis. We've got a great group of professionals that know their job and do it well. But really helping people to be their best self, and helping to make sure that we always put our student athletes first, and every decision that we make is putting Winston-Salem State University in the best position possible. But if you think about the students first and foremost, then you always make the right decision, no matter which one it is. It'll always be the best.
So the students' academics we're going to put first. I like that. I like
Absolutely.
That. You know, I have a kinship to Winston-Salem State. A lot of my family members have graduated from there. I still have a son over there. I think he's on the 20-year program. I don't know. I spoke to the chancellor and said, how about we just call it even, man? I don't spend enough money on it. How about you just go ahead and
let him go ahead.
Let's go let him go. I mean, how about we call it even? But so tell me something. When you look back over your career, you look back at yourself and you see from whence you have come, right? Tell me some of the things that it was the driving force that kept you pushing. Because when you laid it out there, I mean, you laid it out there just like it was relatively easy. But I know better than that. You know, as a female, a person of color, there's some issues you probably had to deal with that kind of threw you back for a minute. What kept you driving? Was it something you always wanted to be as an athletic director?
It wasn't. And actually, I hadn't even thought about it. When I was at Iowa and just getting started as a GA and intern, I didn't even think about it. Grad assistant.
Okay.
I didn't even think about it and what that opportunity could mean. And honestly, when I came back to serve at North Carolina Central, when Ingrid called, I really wanted to come help her vision come to fruition. And I think it's really important that when you serve in that number 2 seat, that you don't want to be in someone's seat presently, because it allows you to do your job and do it to the best of your ability. So I was fine being in the shadows, and it was great. And actually, at one point, I had thought about stepping out of college athletics because we adopted our son back in 2010. And so I considered maybe this isn't what I want to do. Maybe I want to homeschool. Wow. And my husband was like, you are not a homeschool person.
So what's the difference from being number 2 and being number 1 to you?
Being number 2 and being number 1 is actually being in the seat. And the difference.
What's that like, being in the seat?
It's those decisions that keep you up at night. Like, I stayed up many a night because of compliance, but your mind is always racing. It doesn't go to sleep. And it's being okay with making that tough decision and knowing that you made it for the right reason. And that's really one of the biggest differences.
Guy was telling me something, and I use it quite often around here. He says that the difference is that you may not ring the bell, you may not be on the train that day, you may not even be driving, but if that train jumps off the track, you're the one that catches all the hell. And so I understand that when you say, you know, you making decisions. I get it. So when you go in onto the campus every day and you look around and you see to yourself, you're in the people business, right? And you figure out, well, how do we do this better? What comes to your mind in terms of what's happening in our society now? What's happening with COVID-19? We're in the middle of 2 pandemics. We got the pandemic going on with COVID-19. We also have the pandemic of social unrest. So we basically have 2 pandemics in the year 2020. So has being the athletic director in a time such as this changed the way you do business or changed how you look at what you do?
I believe that the model of higher ed is going to change. we're really going to have to do what we say we do, which is look at the whole student and then look at society. Because every student is not going to be equipped, one, with all the tools that they need to be successful post-college. And they're not coming in any longer just thinking about my schoolwork. They're thinking about what's going on at home and what's going on in the world. But one of the things that's also great about the current population, this current generation, is that they're also thinking about, I want my rights, I want ownership over my rights, and I want to be able to have an impact, think and feel how I want to, as opposed to always doing what's expected or what other people have done. I think they're respectful of the past, but they want to write their own story. So we're going to have to adjust with that. And I think for some people, it's a little uncomfortable to do that. For them to also understand this generation, to be able to be part of their journey as opposed to being afraid of it. You know, for us to really do what we say we're going to do as a society and giving a fair shot to everyone, to being inclusive. It's not going to be easy and it's not going to be without some challenges, but we have to do that. When I look at our students on campus, they want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to make sure that, okay, you can do whatever it is you need to do and hold me accountable, but I'm going to hold you accountable as well. And if we don't listen or do what they ask us to do, they just go to social media. They go to the court of public opinion.
That's true. That's true. So, I had a question that popped up in my mind. You said that you're a graduate of Central, right? So if Central and Winston-Salem State played, right, who would you put your money on?
Oh, Winston-Salem State University all day, every day.
I like that.
Absolutely.
I like that.
We're going to play.
That's a test question. It's a test question. Yeah. So let me ask you a question. So when you look at schools, right, I didn't mean to mess with you like that.
Fine.
But when you think of schools, and I've always had this question asked to me, and when my sons played in athletics, so they rate schools or rank schools Division 1, 2, and 3? Is that how it goes?
Correct.
So you said you're going to play Central, right?
Correct.
Central is a what?
Division 1. Correct.
And you're going to sit SSU is a what?
We're Division 2.
So what's the difference? What denotes the difference between the schools?
It comes back to revenue generation, and what you generate, and then the money you bring, the money you spend on your program. So they call it the arms race in college athletics, and it's real arms race. It's where it kind of like chasing the Joneses. And that's a lot of what it is how much we're expending. So if you look at Central, their budget might be $16 million. You look at ours, and we're at 3.2. Big difference. So when you line up and you look at the number of scholarships that Central has, Central offers more full scholarships plus Pell Grant, so their students are getting a refund. They're also getting some kind of subsidy. We don't have that. Very few of our student athletes are on a full scholarship. So when we line up, people would expect NCCU to win.
Right.
We're going to line up with the best of the best. And when I talk to our coaches, we're going to recruit the same students that NCCU is recruiting. So when we line up, I'm expecting us to win and to get the check. NCCU is not expecting that. So when people look at them as a Division I institution, they call it a money game or a guarantee game. They're expecting them to be the victor at the end of the game. Absolutely. And it's actually probably more challenging for them than it is for us. Now, I know the Rams. And when we show up, the Rams don't ever expect us to show up to get the check. They expect us to always show up to be number one, and that's our goal.
I like that. I'm looking forward to it. So what should we expect in the upcoming year? Because you just got here, right?
I did.
But let me welcome you here. I meant to do that from the beginning. So you just got here, right?
did.
How long have you been here now?
Just 8 months. I got here January 1st.
And so we didn't get a chance to play football.
Not yet.
Not yet?
We're working on the spring. That's the plan. We do have a tentative schedule with the CIAA for us to play in the spring.
So you say spring, what's that, March, April, May? What's that?
Correct. So it would, unfortunately, go right up to the combines for the NFL, but it would give us a chance to get in at least a conference schedule and be able to play those games and get those in, give the opportunity for football, for cross country, and for volleyball.
What about basketball?
So basketball is a winter sport. And you're not really hearing a lot about it right now because we're
it
still.
It usually starts what?
November? It starts October.
October, yeah.
And then we'll start competition late October and November. And everyone is still hoping that COVID will have subsided a little bit and we'll be able to continue to push forward on time. The CBS contract for the NCAA is tied to the Final Four. And that's really what the funds that come in, they're generated, that really fuel the entire association, come back to that CBS contract. Whereas if you look at a Wake Forest University, a lot of their revenue is generated by football, and that fuels a lot of their department. For us, it's student fees.
I like that. So how you like Winston?
I love it. It's a great city. Yeah, you're doing an all right job, Sheriff. It's
you know what? Right. I love Winston too. Now, if you had said anything other than you love it, because this is home for me.
I know.
Yeah. I'm a Winston-Salem native. I'm a Winston son. Yeah.
No, Winston, it's great.
You know what? As far as I'm concerned, it's the best place on the planet.
It is. It's different than it was when I was in college. It's definitely
it's
a different place.
Than it was when I was in school. It's different than it was when I left several years ago. is constantly evolving, constantly changing.
It is.
Yeah. So in the upcoming season, right, we expecting championships.
Absolutely.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Absolutely. You should.
Yeah.
Now, but when we win them, then I need to make sure that the whole city is involved with the celebration.
So what would you like? So what would you like to see happen when you talk about getting the whole city involved? That takes you to another lane.
Absolutely.
What would you like to see happen?
We need to be involved. We need to pack the city. Just like if it was a Final Four taking place, when our championship, when we bring it back home, we need to be in the city, in the streets. See, COVID stopped that this year. So we weren't able to be there. But I also need the city to come join us. You know, this year our tournament's supposed to be in Baltimore. That's not far. People can come visit us, but at least tune in if you can't come visit. But
so we got plans in place. What do you need from us or need from the people that's watching and listening to pack the city? I mean, pack the stands.
I need people to come pack the stands, especially for football. Come, you know, not just for racing, but come over there for us when we play football. Not just when we're over there racing. It's the same capacity no matter what. So come on over. Get a chance to get to know our students who are also residents of this city, but also we're the institution in this city that bears the city's name. So when Winston-Salem State University lines up, everybody is looking at Winston-Salem. And I promise you, if you look from...
Winston-Salem represents Winston-Salem, right?
That's it. And we wear it on our uniforms. So you see it, you hear about it whenever we play, when we're on TV, you see it. We just need the city's support to continue to come out to games and support. I'd like to invite everybody to the Game Center as well, but in that instance, I can't hold you. I got to get more and more students in there. Yeah. However, $80 million and we have a new football stadium and we've got a new CE Games.
So you got a new stadium?
$80 million. That's all we need.
Takes?
That's it.
You gonna start a project to raise the money?
Absolutely. You gonna help?
Of course, I do it. I do my part.
Okay.
If I can get that degree thing, get him signed.
Look, I'll talk to the provost because the chance if I say provost, can you handle this? So yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, you know, I really enjoyed this. So, you know, anything you want to share with us before we go, because I've learned a lot from talking to you. Some things in our first meeting you didn't share with me. I didn't know that you had went to law school. I didn't know that you had transitioned from here to there and back here. That's good stuff. I like that. So anything you want to share with the people that are watching and listening?
Absolutely. I would say that I want you all to know that our student athletes, our coaches and staff are working diligently. They really are. And really it's a time for us to support them from the mental health perspective, make sure that they have everything that they need, but also give them the opportunity to be great. Continue to, you know, support as you can around the city. Come out, see a student, see what you can do to make sure that they've got what they need as a student. You know, people still have bills to pay. They still need employment. If you're hiring, let us know. We're looking for opportunities for them. A lot of them are taking classes online, even though they're here in the city. They're looking for opportunities to take care of themselves and their families, but also always give them a second chance. Don't count them out. You know, they make mistakes. They're young people, but we all did. If people look back at what we did as young people, they might look twice. We didn't have technology and the internet. There are a lot of people that are in professional settings today because someone gave them a second opportunity and a third chance. So please make sure that you continue to see our student athletes, but come across 52. Don't stay on this side of it. You've got to come across.
I like you. I got to tell Doc, the Chancellor, he did a great job in selecting you.
I appreciate it.
I like that. I like that. So I want you to know that anything that we can do for you here at the Sheriff's Office, we come across 52 all the time. I've been across 52. I was born on the other side of 52. So I understand what you mean when you say across 52. But I want you to know that anything that we can do for you here at the Sheriff's Office, the Office of the People, count us in. I want to welcome you again in Winston-Salem. Hope you have a great year here.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
And as always, thank you for stopping by. We look forward to seeing you again. Go Rams.
Absolutely.
Thank you.